Don, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Are you
7
ready to go?
o'clock.
We're ready to go.
Ready to go.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Do we have roll call, please?
Todd Tompkins,
John Brandhuber,
John Schweizer,
Bob Anderson,
Ruth Gonzalez.
Gail Rober,
Don Munson. Okay, we'll move on to approval of the minutes from February 9th meeting, please.
having reviewed the minutes, I move that we approve.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. We have 3 speakers tonight for public comment. The first speaker is Thor, and I'd ask that you hold it to 3 minutes, please.
Did Thor not show up?
I don't know who the BlackBerry person is.
That might be Julie Herber.
Okay.
So no
Right.
Thor, move on to the next.
Julie, please, you have 3 minutes.
I don't know.
And the third person we have is Russ
Oh,
Kai.
there's Julie Herber just came in.
Okay. We'll back up.
There she is.
Julie, we're on public comment. You have 3 minutes if you wish to speak, please.
You're muted. You're muted right now.
I think I need to be unmuted by the host.
Ah,
There you are.
Here I am.
You can hear you.
Okay, thanks, Steve. My name is Julie Herber, and I'm an attorney in Arlington. My colleague, Paul Taylor, and I represent 4 couples and 5 owners of airplane hangars at the building 404A, which has been under construction since 2018. And we have filed a lawsuit against Mr. Wilcoxon and Northwest Custom Airplane Hangar Leasing and Northwest Custom Airline Hangars because to date, the construction has been incompetent and has been incomplete. And the causes of action that we filed in Snohomish County Superior Court, February 2nd, 2021, included a cause of action for breach of fiduciary duty for pooling funds that were paid by investors to purchase the condominiums in this building, for a failure to provide an accounting of the pooled funds, for specific performance for completion of competent construction, and for a declaratory judgment to determine what the nature of the relationships are among the parties. There are between 16 and 18 investors in this construction project. We've been in communication with the City of Arlington attorney since September, October 2020 to follow up on what the city and the airport commission is willing to do to follow through with making sure this construction is completed and is competent. We've provided photographs, which I'm sure that Mr. Peifel shared with all of you, to show that to date the construction is defective on its face. I've done a request for public disclosure for the permitting. I have never to date received engineering or designs for these airplane hangar doors, which is just one aspect of how this construction project has been in violation of the FAA standards. So our clients want completed construction of condominium airplane hangars. That's all they want. And they want to partner with the city and the airport commission to make sure that this gets completed. But we've been working on this for 6 or 8 months now, and we haven't been able to move the football down the field, if you will, The pictures that we sent you from Sunday, March 7th, show black mold throughout the facility because the exterior envelope of this commercial construction project has not been brought into the dry. So that's what we want to, that's the nature of our lawsuit. We want to remain open to communications with the city and the airport commission. And we want to work with the city of Arlington and the airport commission to make sure that this project.
I'm sorry, your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Well, from a personal point of view, I'm part of the commission. My name is Scott Tompkins. I haven't seen any pictures or anything. I don't know when that went out.
We provided them through the city attorney because the first time we attempted to reach out to the airport manager, Mr. Ryan, we were informed by Mr. Peifel that we needed to go through his office because he represented them.
I see. Okay.
So I would have provided those to you directly had I had permission from the city attorney. But we've provided, but I will with permission from the city attorney.
Well, I'm sure it'll come through him.
And let me indicate to the commission that these came in on the weekend and yesterday. And because the packet had already been distributed to the commission, I didn't want to send a supplemental packet to you because they're pictures, they're pretty large. I'll be glad to share with you, and I'll discuss the contents of them with you during our executive session.
Okay.
And I'll provide them to you after the meeting so you can see what they depict.
Okay, Steve.
Julie, we thank you very much for bringing all this to our attention.
Next up is Neil Carmen.
Okay. Any other questions?
Next speaker, please, Neil.
You're cutting out. Was that for me?
Yes, sir. You have 3 minutes, sir, please.
Okay, I have 3 items, but 2 of them are related to issues that are happening. So I'd like to talk on those when the issues happen. The one that is not on the agenda, as you got a copy, was I questioned the equal treatment of the Flightline tenants when Business Park and the Fire Department and other commercial businesses are given 75-year leases. And according to Dave, Flightline aviation businesses are limited to 50 years. The FAA recommends 50 years, but it is not a requirement. And so I feel that this is not equal treatment with aviation tenants and should be addressed because the FAA says you have to treat all tenants equally.
I can take that a little bit. The reason the non-aeronautical areas, those that have been designated non-aeronautical, receive 75 years is because of the I believe it was the 2018 FAA bill that had a part that was called Section 163, and it was called a 163 determination, that if it was non-aeronautical land, those leases could be longer than 50 years. Those have considerably more investment in building those larger buildings than, say, an aircraft hangar, even a nice aircraft hangar like yours, Neil. I believe that's why that was given that determination. I have not received anything from the FAA that said there was any chance for buildings on the flight line to receive any longer than that. generally a much cheaper construction, usually just either wood frame, steel covered hangars, or steel frame, steel covered hangars, whose lifespan is predicted to be about 50 years. So I have not seen anything that says we can move forward with that. I'm not against the idea, but I have not seen any guidance in that at all.
Well, I think you have different construction in different hangars, and I think you'll find that the example is my hangar is far exceeds anything else on the airport in construction, and should have the same treatment as the business park. Sure, there is definitely varying degrees of construction, and that should be negotiated, but there shouldn't be a limit of 50 years for aviation and allowing all of the businesses in the fire department and that to have 75 years. It should be equal, or at least made available to the aviation entity, which will also encourage you to have better construction in the aviation area. And like the example.
I'm sorry, Neil, we're on 3 minutes.
Right, and I'll give the example is my roof does not need replacing because it's a standing seam, so it's far better. Any questions?
Doesn't look like any questions.
No questions, so we'll move on to new business attachment.
no.
A, please.
I think we have a couple of others, Don.
Kevin Duncan emailed me and said that he's having issues with his computer, so he probably won't be able to speak. And I'm not sure who this BlackBerry is. I think that might be Thor, but he's having troubles connecting to audio.
Okay.
So
And we agree that if their audio comes back on, that we can let them talk later on tonight and move forward with everything else.
I think that's okay. Dawn or Steve, can you answer that question?
We
Yeah,
can go
okay.
through it. We can go through attachment A.
Okay. Is that where we are now?
Yes, sir. Lot
All
50.
right. Yes, this is a request for lease extension on lot 50, Barbara Weston. In it, you'll find the packet, the request letter, the quote for the roof, the lease, and the lease amendment. Barbara Weston, formerly Barbara Johnson, is requesting a lease extension for her improvements on lot 50. The current lease expires in 2038, and she would like an additional 10 years on her ground lease in exchange for installing a new roof on the hangar. Quote is included in your packet, totaling $125,000. That would require amending the lease to expire in 2048, and that would create a total term of 49 years on that lease for Miss Weston. They've been on the airport for a long time, good customers. Originally, they had, I believe it was 49. They sold that building to MATA and a couple of years back. And so staff recommends approval on this request for an additional 10 years.
Do we have any comment?
I had a question.
Yes, sir.
So, and just to confirm, the lease would not be amended for the additional 10 years until the project complete as described in the recommended motion?
Correct. Yes. It's similar to what we did a couple of meetings back for the company that was putting a new roof on over in the industrial park. And they have since completed that project. And as soon as we receive all the documentation, that will go into effect.
Okay, and they show you the receipts and you just verify the numbers that are approximately correct?
That's correct. I do have those and they're in the file for that person. We'll do the same on this one.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I've got one comment on Barbara. I have no issues with Barbara Weston, but I do, however, question the legality and equal treatment of aviation flight line users. I hope you're aware and want it documented. I also want it documented that you're being asked to extend the lease on lot 50 to a landlord with a non-aeronautical tenant. It's proven that machine shops are not compatible, and this machine shop has been there for an awful long time. So I want to know if your precedent is to extend leases for non-aeronautical compliance in the hangars.
Yes, we have, as you know, we have returned 2 of our hangars back to aeronautical use from non-aeronautical. The FAA has not requested that we break any lease with any non-aeronautical user until that lease expires. The lease she has with the tenant currently there has about 10 years left on it. At that point, she will try to get an aeronautical use in it or request an interim lease for the remaining time period. So yes, we are following all the guidelines on that.
So the letter that I received from the city of attorney that says that they don't want to, but they could terminate my lease for non-aeronautical use, is that true or false? And I might be treated equally or not equally.
You're being treated equally. We have several hangars with non-aeronautical use. We continue to try to work with those tenants to get them into aeronautical use. However, we are not going to boot anybody out and cause them to lose revenue during those lease period times. When those times are expired or that lease has expired, then that's the time to address that issue. The hangar right across from you, and he rents one from you as well. It's a case. One is Hans and one is you. Both are non-aeronautical use, and we try to encourage people to bring it into aeronautical use, but we're not going to make anybody break a standing lease, and we're not required to. The FAA does not want us to do that.
Well, I want to clarify exactly what you were saying is incorrect. That they are not a tenant of mine. They own their facility. It's a condominium, and he owns, which is totally different than the hangars across from him. He initially, when I sold it to him, he had all of his aircraft in there, and he was totally in compliance. And he's gradually moved them out, and because of the letter, he's moved one back in. But good. I've been harassed, and 3 of us have been harassed for non-compliance when the rest of everybody has been able to skate. And I take the letter that I received pretty darn serious because I try and keep myself legal. And I've had my hangar that I owned vacant for over 3 years looking for an aviation tenant because I wanted one. And I don't like it getting a letter when there's only 3 letters sent out to people on the airport for non-compliance and the threat of kicking me out. It just puts that on record.
So Dave?
Yes, sir.
So, as you know, I'm fairly new to the commission. I mean, a year and a half. So just out of curiosity, how did some of these tenants, non-aeronautical tenants, get in if the original intention, of course, is not to let them in?
That's a very good question, and I'm glad you brought it up. This didn't used to be an issue with the FAA. That started about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe. Before then, as long as that tenant was using it for some type of aeronautical use, such as a machine shop that built parts for Boeing or whatever, that was totally acceptable. 7, 8 years ago, they decided that it should only be aircraft in the hangars, or what they say now is at least 60 to 70% aircraft. The rest can be toy box. But that started about 6 or 7 years ago. That's how those leases are, where we have Universal Aerospace, Global, and others that make aerospace products. Same with Hans on the other side, all those hangars on the west side. In their lease, it says as long as it's an aeronautical business, they can be there. It's in that lease language over there. So it's kind of a mixed bag. That's why we try to be fair with everybody. I would point out that Neil is the president of that hangar condo association. So we work with people and try to say, hey, you need to get airplanes in there. I do the same with Hans and other tenants that have non-aeronautical uses. We've done it with several tenants in the last year. So no one's being picked on or anything like that. We're trying to get them all back to aeronautical use. It's going to take years.
When we started letting machine shops in there, we had a 60% vacancy at the airport. And that's when we contacted the FAA, and they said, as long as they were making parts for a airplane, they could be in there.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion if there's no other questions.
I have a question about the extension of the lease, if I may. So are you saying that the 10-year extension of the lease is going to expand beyond the expiration of the tenant's lease with the owner? And the tenant is obviously not aeronautical use, but
it is an aerospace manufacturer. So yes, at that point, she will try to see if she can get an aeronautical use in there.
When does the lease expire with the owner?
2038. Without this amendment, it's 2038. With this amendment, it's 2048.
But what is the underlying? What's the underlying lease that she has with the leasee? When does that expire?
The subtenant, I think about 10 years.
So 10 years from now.
Yes.
So about 2030.
Possibly, I'd have to pull up their sublease and look at it.
Is there any condition that she not extend the sublease as a condition of extending?
No, because when this lease was in effect, it was, as Don mentioned, the aerospace manufacturing wasn't allowed use. So, you know, it's a fairly old lease that went back before the FAA changed their guidelines.
I understand that, but we're talking about the sublease. Is there any requirement that the primary leasee that not extend the sublease as a condition of getting a 10-year extension on her 50-year lease?
No.
I've got an email from Karen Miles. It was dated January 9th, 2015, that says the proposed use as a machine shop for aeronautical parts on airport property as a non-aeronautical use. And that was in 2015.
Yes.
6 years.
And that's what I said 7-8 years ago is when they changed their guidance. So that was after they had changed their guidance. We are well aware of that. This is something that we have done with many, many businesses on the airport and off the airport on airport property to extend their lease. We don't want to take over their buildings. We don't want to maintain their buildings. We want people to stay employed. This is a decision the commission made years ago that we would rather extend a lease, keep people employed, keep people there. We do not have the personnel to maintain these buildings. And in exchange for them maintaining those buildings, i.e. putting on a new roof at a cost of $125,000 on a $600,000 or $700,000 building, they get lease years in exchange for that. And that is the model we've been working on. This is no different than 20 others that we've done. Any other questions?
John, do you have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I make a motion to approve the lease extension amendment for an additional 10 years pending legal review and documentation of the completed project mentioned above.
Second.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Do we have Thor online?
Still says connecting to audio.
What about Kevin Duncan? Did he get in?
No, I think he's good. So now we move on to the executive session.
Yes, ma'am.
So Brian, Terry, if you could, we need,
Dave, let me interrupt you. You've got on your agenda, you've got information and council liaison update.
true.
Because of the length of time of the executive session, I would suggest that maybe you go through that remainder of that before we adjourn to executive session. I think that would just be easiest for everyone.
That would be fine by me. Okay, so the first item on that is the observation area presentation by Ruth Gonzalez.
Hi. So did everybody have a chance to look at the drawings and the pictures and things that were in the packet?
Yes.
I can pull them up if you want me to share a screen.
That would be great because I don't know how to do that. So
You want the drawings first or the pictures first?
drawings, please. The site plan first, the first sheet. So we've been talking about this observation area for a long time. I think initially we started talking about it even before Dave was working at the airport. So it's been a while. And it came up as an idea from airport staff at the time, because we have a lot of people who walk the trail and with their kids and they stop and watch the planes. And so there's this kind of unique triangular piece of property on the west side that drew us to it, that it could be a good place to develop an observation area, a park, so to speak, so that as people use the trail or out walking, that they can take a rest and watch the planes, and or even come there as a destination to watch the planes. So this layout shows some general parking area and sidewalks and access to the site that connects back into I don't know what number street it is, the street that's out there that
The boulevard.
Airport
That one.
Boulevard.
Airport Boulevard connects it back into that. There's a location here for a restroom, so that the facility, if anybody's using the facilities, they can, or the playground and area, that there are restrooms available. They would be barrier free, so handicapped accessible. I based the size on what was installed down at Haller Park, and they're a modular unit, so you can add additional pieces, and they're prefab and concrete. So I don't know if that was partially because it's a floodplain or if it was just a cost-effective measure, but that's kind of how I based the size. But I also provided a little drawing of what it would look like, even if it was the modular building or if it was built built on site. Did a couple elevations, one just a standard hip roof, and then the other one, I'm looking at the shed roofs, kind of thinking of those as we could extend them and make them kind of look like wings. So that was my thought for the shed roofs on both the restroom facility as well as the picnic areas. The picnic areas have little pavilions, have 3 different options: stick frame, where you see the open trusses, hip roof, pyramid type shape or a shed roof that we could extend that overhang and make it look again more like a wing. So also area designated for just toys, interactive play equipment. We could build a tower that the kids could use as a play toy. Benches for people to sit and watch the plane, picnic tables underneath the pavilions, some signage for the history of the airport. And in some of those pictures that are included as far as the picnic tables and the benches and things, they reminded me personally of airplane type materials and shapes. So they were just something to get people kick-started. The bicycle, it could for bikes to park at, that could actually be a plane. They make different shapes. So lots of options. Most of these pictures I just typed in airport themed playground equipment, and that's where I came up with a lot of those pictures. So lots of options. This could be done in phases as funds become available. Primary thing would be getting the parking and restroom facility started. The rest you could be out there and bring your own chairs and things to start. And then the one picture that looks kind of like a rusty old light, that is actually on my farm, and it is a floodlight from the airport. It was used out at the airport in the 40s and 50s. And my family farmed out there, and we have several parts and pieces of airport buildings still on our farm that I would love to take out there and use as backgrounds for signage. We have all the lumber and some of the walls left from the original tower. So those things are available if people are interested in them, to use them as bases for signs or displays or history. So this is all just kind of a starting point for people to talk about. Does anybody have any questions?
I'd like to point out a couple of things, Ruth. The parking could serve for both the Southwest aircraft ramp. The parking and the restrooms could serve the pilots at the Southwest aircraft ramp. It is not paved parking now; it's just a gravel lot.
Yeah, they wouldn't be exclusive to the observation area by any means.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I'd like to point out to the commission and those attending that Ruth has done this all on her own, gratis for the airport and the airport commission to look at. So I thank you, Ruth, for that.
You're welcome. It's fun. This kind of thing is fun for me. And like I said, the airport has a lot of history for me and my family. So I think this would be just a really cool project to get going and get more interaction with the community.
Ruth, I have some questions.
Sure.
First of all, do you have any kind of a ballpark financial number to do this project?
No. I designed it. I played with it. I don't quote costs because that's not, I'm not involved with construction, that side of it. No, it would just be wrong.
The other thing that I would like to ask, because I just went through this, we completely had to refurbish 2 tot lots. These are playgrounds for children. And I was stunned at the cost of the equipment because it had to be OSHA compliant, et cetera. And I would simply caution you that looking at this equipment, that if you go this way, and by the way, I love the look of it, I really do.
Cool.
But I want to be sure that it's compliant for safety, et cetera. For instance, the biplane you showed there has a hard surface under it. I had to fight with the authorities about the type of wood chips that had to go down under the play equipment. So just
I actually have a 3 or 4 page printout of what's allowed, and there's certain types of wood chips and other materials that can use in certain thicknesses, and It's,
Yeah, the
it's
cost, the
pretty,
cost stunned me.
yes, it's pretty involved and there's a lot more to it because of liability and safety issues. And then you still have to make things accessible. So this is just a schematic to get the thought process started.
I love it. I would love to see this happen.
Yeah, it would just be fun.
Yep.
Ruth, I'd like to ask a question, please.
Sure.
I realize these are merely examples and did you actually design the pictures themselves? I mean, these are merely examples, are they not?
They're just examples. The only thing I drew was the site plan and the restroom and the pavilion.
I see.
Other things I
Oh.
just pulled offline.
Well, on the site plan, if you look down on the plot itself, perhaps I missed it, but is there not a fence all the way around it?
I don't know if there is now or not.
I didn't notice a
There's-
designation for a
I
fence.
didn't put in a designation for a fence, but I'm pretty sure we'd probably have to.
I'm sure we'd have to, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a fence on the air side that separates the air side and the land side there, Scott.
Oh, I see,
on-
okay.
Yeah. And
Oh, so
that
that's
might-
already there then, Dave?
Yes, but we'd probably go on with something, it's only a little 4-foot fence, so we'd probably go on with something a little more decorative and a little more secure.
Indeed.
And you'd probably
Okay.
want to go 6 feet too, so kids
Yeah.
don't climb over it.
Yeah, 6
Yeah.
or 8 feet, perhaps wrought iron or something like that for that small section.
Electrified.
Yeah.
That's not
Right.
allowed within the city limits. I'm sorry.
Well, don't electrify it, but John, don't be putting razor ribbon up there.
Yeah, I want to know if she's going to bring us that DC-3 for the big guys to play on.
There you go.
Oh. Yeah. Well, and there's, if there's pieces of plane and things that could be used decoratively or as displays, that all of that kind of thing would be fun.
I have a question. Is any part of this considered city parks now, Paul, to where we could get some money from the Parks Department?
It's a great question.
Is Paul,
Almost left when I thought money was going to be put on.
Yeah, Dave and I have talked about that a little bit. It's not budgeted in parks, but yes, the short answer is we put it through the process with Parks, Arts and Recreation Committee and then, presumably be able to budget something to contribute towards it.
Something to get a little help.
Yeah, we've also talked about some help in the community, Rotary or some other clubs maybe want to take pieces of this on as a project.
No, but it would get us started to where we could get the word out and maybe get some funds come in.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. We can fund the parking lot and restrooms with airport money because it does serve the flying public, the people on the ramp as well. If we could designate it as a park or recreation area, then it would be eligible for some parks funding. We'd also look at perhaps clubs like Lions or Rotary or other civic organizations to help us with some of the costs of getting this going.
Well, fortunately, we're getting a lot of big construction businesses there where those people may want to come take a break for lunch and have a place to sit. Maybe we can talk some of them into kicking in.
That would be really cool with the development that's going across the street at 172nd. It wouldn't be that far of a walk for people at lunchtime or other people along Airport Boulevard as well.
Or Amazon.
And we can look into that.
yeah.
My only comment is I assume this is the parking lot that's next to my hangar, and I'm all for a play area and an observation area, but my reservation is that it's still right close to the ramp and should not be removed from aeronautical designation. And it should have adequate parking, which was originally constructed for the overflow for pilots that are on the ramp. And there should still be a gate that can get out to the ramp through this fence that you're talking about.
The way it's laid out, there could be additional parking too. Right now, there's 13 stalls drawn in, but there would be room to add more. Right now, it looks like from the aerial photos that people are just parking along the fence line, and it's not very controlled or laid out.
Right, and we would be able to put, cipher lock type gates in there where you had to put in the CTAF frequency or something along those lines to be able to access the ramp. So that's not a problem.
That was my only reservation before, is that it was designed as a parking lot and pilots need a place to park. We've already got too many cars and things parking on the ramp out in the open. And we need more parking for overflow as the airport grows, which hopefully it will.
It's been growing like crazy, so we will take that into consideration.
Dave, I have a question. I saw that the Stilly Athletic Club is going through another paint and update. Have they come to us to ask for an extension on a lease, or are they going to do the same thing as they did last time? Do it and then come and want the.
I have not heard a word.
Okay.
I have not heard a word about that. No one has come to us.
Because last time we told them that we wouldn't do it again.
Then we should stick to our guns on that. Looks like the next thing on there is the vaccination site update. Monroe, you want to bring us up to speed on that?
Yeah, sure thing. So right now it's actually gone over to the Snohomish County Health District has taken over the vaccination site. The ultimate goal is to have 5,600 vaccinations per day. With the new vaccinations, they will be switching. Right now, the primary focus for that vaccination site is Pfizer, but there is a possibility of changing to Johnson & Johnson and Moderna. But that, like I said, the main focus is Pfizer right now. And then for the weeks, they will have the second shot for each individual.
Okay, thank you, Monroe. And Marty, you want to bring us up on construction?
I just have one comment on the vaccine, is that I got a call tonight. They had 3 shots left at the end of the day, and they were calling around trying to find somebody that wanted the shot. It would be really neat if the airport could have a kind of a list of people that want the shot that could immediately come when they do have an overage like that. I hate to see them throw three vaccines away, and they did call me tonight, and I've already had my 2, so I couldn't take it. But that's just a suggestion too.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Neil. What we could do, I mean, unfortunately, we don't have anything to do with the calling, but what we could do is we could get a list of individuals and then hand it over to the vaccination site, have them call these people. So if that ever does happen again, they'll know who to contact.
Okay, Marty, you want to jump in there on construction?
Yeah, we're beginning the 2022 construction for the overlay of 1634. The engineering's taking place now. We had an independent fee estimate done. It was accepted by the FAA. We've finished the negotiations with our engineer and the engineering cost at the FAA. They've approved them. And so we're going to move forward on that. The last year's projects are essentially wrapped up. We've got a couple little things to do in the springtime, and that'll be the end of that. That was a very successful project. And then just real quickly, we did receive our 2 lighted X's that we purchased. So we'll have additional lighted X's for construction projects moving forward. And we have a new ops vehicle coming here within a week or so. And that will also help us during construction season. But that's all I got for construction.
Thank you very much. One of the other things we're looking at is airport decals. What we're asking, we've talked about this in our quarterly user group, is a decal that goes up in your window, much like when you get an oil change. That is a numbered decal, so that law enforcement, if they're out working at night or even during the day, sees that decal, they know you belong on the airport. And we've been working with Seth Kinney of the police department with this. They would be given out free. We have 1,000 of them right now. And Lease has been coordinating that effort. And so we're going to be starting on that program fairly soon, within a couple of months. And this is for people who have an operational need to have their vehicle inside the fence. So if you have your aircraft at a hangar and you drive to your hangar and it's late at night or whatever, and the officer sees that you have that decal and on your vehicle, he knows you belong. If you don't, he might say, "Hey, what's going on? What are you doing out here?" It's a tool to help them, and so we're going to be phasing that in as we figure out how to get them to our various tenants. Any questions on that?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's a great idea, Dave.
That was actually, it was our police department that came up with that, working with Marty and Lealis and Monroe. So kudos to them. And I think that's it for our informational section.
And I guess we break for the executive session.
Don, if I might just preface that by indicating that the state auditor wants us to announce at this time the reason for adjourning into the executive session, which is, as stated on the agenda, it's to discuss potential litigation and potential enforcement actions relating to the Northwest Custom Aircraft Hangar lease, Lot 404A. We also have to announce a time limit for the executive session. I'm anticipating 30 minutes should be sufficient. If not, we'll have to come back and ask for some additional time. And my understanding is that Brian Terry is going to assist us by transferring all the commissioners and appropriate staff into executive session. So you don't have to do anything. You'll just be sent to a different room so we can have the conversation separately.
Okay.
Do we have to hit the join?
Yes, please.
So does anyone that's left in the public meeting expect that the commission is going to come back after the executive session and give us any information?
Yeah, that's my impression. They're gonna be back, either in a half an hour or let us know, because they have to maybe make some determination.
Well, I guess I'm a little surprised. Michelle and I are not in the executive session, and I thought we should be. We're both city council liaisons to the airport. And we've always,
I was just calling you, gonna call you, Jen, and ask you, so I'm gonna leave the meeting for now then. Unless,
well, if we got to sit here for half an hour, but I can't believe that they left us off.
Well, I don't think you're part of the airport commission, so executive sessions are usually.
Well, yeah, but they sent us all the papers. We represent the city. The city owns the airport.
You're both city council members, correct?
Yes,
And
as liaisons to the airport commission.
and it's my understanding that, I mean, the airport commission is not independent of the city council, that if there's a tie break vote, that the city council makes a determination about what the airport commission does based on the municipal code that I was provided. So I'm
You know,
surprised.
I don't know. I don't think that's ever happened since I've been on it, but I've been in executive session with them before. I'm with
all right,
Michelle.
Jen, I'm gonna leave because I don't sit here for 30 minutes.
Yes,
So I was gonna leave, and then can I call you real quick?
sure.
Okay. Bye, everybody else. Bye, Julie. Bye, Neil.
Thank you. So I think they
Well, I'm surprised.
we all back? Are we missing anybody?
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that are muted, I see above.
It's best to keep muted unless you're going to say something.
I see, okay.
Keeps the feedback from happening.
Shall we take a roll
I
call,
think
make sure
we're- I
everybody's
think
back?
we're all. It looks like we're all back.
Okay.
And Steve, is this the point where the motion is made?
If there, yes, if there's a motion, this now is the time for you to make the motion now that we're back out of executive session.
I need a motion, please, for the city attorney to take action against NWCHA project on 404A.
John, you're muted. Still muted, John. There you go.
Okay. I was gonna suggest if that was a motion, Don, I would second it.
It can be a motion.
Well, then I'll
Then
second.
seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. We have one more thing on the council liaison information, please.
Since this has gone really long and has been pretty in-depth, I had intended to give you an update on the Roxy project. So what I'd like to do instead is I will write all of that up and send it to Lealis, and she can email it to all of you guys tomorrow. Would that work?
Super, that work.
Okay.
That works.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jan.
If there's no other information, I need a motion to close the meeting, please.
I'll make a
propose-
motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We're gone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.